curious, Fabio, to see what is there to explore here in this world.
But later, we've started to figure out, hey, after the event, smaller groups of people were still trying to relog into the platform to do stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of interesting use cases already. I like the way it looks. I like also the way it's quite performant.
We don't believe that something like this will ever replace events by any means, right? But we believe there's like a large spectrum between what can be done physically and what does something like a video conferencing tool offer you.
It just feels also, I like the light also in this area. I like the openness. I see myself here, giving a presentation. I've been trying to do this last year on other platforms, and the audio was always an issue. And here it feels almost like I'm in my podcast studio.
Hi everyone, this is Fabio from Bizzlogic, and today I'm super excited because I think we have an amazing guest. I had the pleasure to meet Joeri around 2 weeks ago at the Web Summit. Joeri has some amazing projects going on in the Web3 space, from a super successful blog and podcast called Web3 CMO Stories to a physical Web3 retreat in Citra. I will link you everything down below, but today we will take you on a virtual tour through Meadow and hopefully get some of Joeri's perspective, especially considering his market expertise. So let's see where all of this is going to take us. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell button. Let's go.
Hi, Fabio. It's good to see you again after the Web Summit. Now in, can I call it the Metaverse?
Yeah, maybe. Hi, Joeri. Nice to see you again. 2 weeks after the Web Summit, but this time virtually in avatar form in maybe what we call a fraction of the Metaverse. I mean, it's like I think we could go into a 2-hour deep discussion about the definition of metaverse and everything behind it.
It's interesting. Next week I will be giving a keynote in Egypt for a group of marketing executives and entrepreneurs. Of course, I will be talking about VR, metaverse, virtual worlds, also a bit about Meadow. So cool. I'm curious, Fabio, to see what is there to explore here in this world.
Awesome. Yeah. So basically, just maybe for the listeners to understand, this is Meadow. This is our metaverse our metaverse framework. Let's call it like this for B2B. So it's not like this is an open platform where like all the different worlds are in. But usually when we build something like this, we deploy it on a per client base. And what we're in right now is like our, I would say, out-of-the-drawer user experience demo of the platform. So nice to see your avatar in here. This is one of our main themes and templates in the environment that we have, or of the environments that we have. Maybe later, if we have some time, we can also like walk through a few others. But mainly what we try to achieve with this is to create a pretty standardized and easy to adjust and easy to customize version of metaverse environments that companies can use for whatever they need to do online, right? So obviously in 2020, when we started developing the platform, it was all about events and event replacements. And nowadays the use cases have shifted, or not only shifted, but quite a lot expanded, a lot into like corporate internal use cases. So companies use it a lot for internal meetings, design reviews, where they upload 3D objects in here to then talk about it. They can do like presentations on this really cool stage module that we have up there. And over the time, let's say over the past 4 or 5 years, we've developed a lot of features into the framework that we can just turn on and off for whatever use case is required, right?
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of interesting use cases already,
Yeah.
But actually, putting here objects to discuss, having meetings in here. I like the way it looks. I like also the way it's quite performant. I've been on other platforms where it was really slow. And here I must say on my computer, I have a few, maybe I have too many windows open, but I remember, Fabio, for other events that I did, I said to all people as a guideline, you need to, restart your computer, make sure that you don't have too many applications open. Yeah, that's what I said, because how it is, you don't know what people have. And now here, I must say it's quite performant, and I also like the fact that you can add objects here. Is it what you would call digital twins, or is it something else that you refer to?
I mean, this really depends on what kind of objects you really try to transfer in here, right? Because I mean, digital twinning is a big buzzword, like metaverse, like a lot of the other buzzwords, or like Web3, like a lot of stuff that has been out there, right? We try to merge all the technology on the platform. This is how we think about it. And also in this context that we built the framework for, our main intention was to obviously give you room for customization, give you room to upload stuff, give you room to make the space your own, basically, but also not give you too much freedom to kind of misdesign the environment, which can happen a lot, especially if you look at all these open platforms and people start to try out stuff. And it's obviously amazing that those kind of platforms exist. So, but just for the clientele that we're working for and the use cases that we usually deploy the platform for, it doesn't make much sense to have that kind of freedom on the platform, because you usually at the end of the day you want to have your clients in here, you want to have your colleagues in here, you want to sometimes make the space public, so you want to have something as representative as possible. How we try to leverage this is, for example, I mean, let me just show you. We have this admin panel that, so I made you admin, by the way, so you can try all of this out yourself as well. That just allows me to basically be connected to a content management system that we have in the background, and I then can just walk up to these different content bubbles in the environment, and I can make them my own by just defining what kind of content should be displayed in that bubble. This can be, for example, something like a video player. So it's just loading. It should be replicated for you in a second. So I can upload media into here. I can upload a 3D object into here, but I can also like populate them with functional modules, with something like a seating area or something like that, right? So this is how we believe we can make these customizable modules in a way that they always fit into the design and the CI of the environment, but still give you the chance to kind of customize the space to whatever use case you're having.
Yeah, I think that's a good balance, be able to customize a bit, but not too much, because at the end of the day, you also want to be productive and don't make it too difficult for people to enter. It feels nice. We could even, if I see it like that, if you put a mic, you almost have a podcast studio over there, to record.
I mean, just for the listeners to know, like all the audio that we're hearing is like completely through the platform. So I think this is also one of our main strengths. Is we have one of the most robust audio engines in the back end that just allows you, despite how many people are in the environment, we could open it up completely and more broadly. So we could have thousands of people in the same audio channel, which gives us a lot of opportunities. I mean, first of all, I think the audio quality is really nice because it's spatialized, it's like directional, and so on and so forth. But then also it gives us opportunities that I haven't seen too much on other platforms that are, for example, if you think of an environment like this in a technical term, this is something, there's a server in the background, right? And the server in the background can host only so and so many people, because like all the avatars moving, they transfer data back and forth, and at some point just it hits a threshold, right? What we can do now with this kind of audio system is having a lot of parallel environments, and then, for example, having the event team that runs the event being able to communicate across all those different like environment instances, because the audio engine doesn't have anything to do with the multiplayer system. Just to maybe a little bit too technical, but
it's good to explain that, the kind of performance, as you say, that is a part of the metaverse, but the resources are focused on what's really important, to have a great experience while we are here, like on the audio level, on the video level, on the performance level. Like I said, I did already quite a few events in the metaverse, and then there was always kind of, people were not sure about the quality of the experience. Even if you do like, a dry run, it can happen that it was not a great experience. But here, every time I came here until now, Fabio, it was a really performant experience. And the fact that the audio too, I've been trying to do this last year on other platforms, and the audio was always an issue. And here it feels almost like I'm in my podcast studio.
It has been an issue for us as well, right? So that's why I was like forcing this topic so much in like a few minutes ago, because having hundreds of people as avatars in virtual space and then like cross communicating, like calculating the distance between each other, like having a high bit rate to do all of this at the same time is a big issue in this whole virtual environment. This is why when you usually see these virtual spaces, they only host so and so many people at the same time virtually, right? And the audio layer is just like a huge other data transfer thing that comes on top of all of this network communication. And if you put all of this together, it usually ends up in quite a mess. So we've had the experience as well. I mean, luckily for us, we started doing this 4 or 5 years ago with large clients too. So we had to prove ourselves from the get-go and had to develop this or co-develop this audio engine with our partners as good as we could. Here, my colleagues are also here, by the way. Here, if you turn around, you see Fatih and Max there walking around back there.
Okay.
I think they're having their own...
I will say hi to them.
I think they're having their internal dev meeting, but yeah.
Okay. But we don't hear them, which is good.
Yeah, that's like all about the spatial audio effect that I was talking about, right? So, what you usually, and this is not like specific to our platform. I think all like virtual metaverse platforms, whatever you want to call them, try to implement this kind of feature, and I think that's one of the major benefits of hosting events, meetings, whatever in virtual space, is that you can have quite an organic feel, because people would just stand close to each other to talk to each other, and then the audio of your voice gets quieter the further away people stand from each other. That's what in the industry is usually referred to as 3D audio or spatial audio, or again, like a lot of terminology mix up there, unfortunately, which makes it even harder to understand from an external viewpoint. But yeah, that's what our like whole industry has been struggling with for the last few weeks, because every player that enters the space tries to redefine the terminology or like all the wordings to make it their own. Like probably the biggest example we could talk about would be Facebook rebranding themselves into Meta, with obviously the main intention promoting their like future vision of metaverse and virtual reality. But I mean, it's great for the industry from one point of view, but if you think from our perspective, for example, we at least had 2 to 3 years where people were approaching us. So, oh, you're Facebook then? We're like, oh God, this whole thing has existed way before that. So yeah, but whole different topic.
Right.
In terms of technology, maybe this is something interesting too, because you were talking about performance of the platform. I think what distinguishes us a lot from other browser-based virtual event, metaverse, virtual space platforms that are out there is that we handle the rendering quite differently. So usually on these platforms out there, and again, not evaluating or judging anything, right? Because I think there's like a purpose and a use case for all of us out there. They are rendered locally. And this is why like the tip that you were saying, hey, restart your computer, try to close everything and so on and so forth, is super important, because you need to have a powerful machine to kind of render beautiful 3D environments. And the more like goes on in parallel on your PC, the less quality maybe your rendering gonna have. We went like a completely different route from the get-go. So I don't know if you ever used like a remote desktop connection kind of tool where you like connect to another PC from your PC.
Yes.
So this is something that we try to leverage in terms of a technological idea behind it, right? So what happens on our platform is the moment that you log in, instead of all the rendering happening on your computer, the platform basically launches a cloud server with like super high specifications the cloud server then opens the application for you, and the only thing you get back from it is this interactive screen that runs in your browser. But the cool thing is that none of this is rendering on my local PC, but everything is rendering in the cloud. Obviously, you have to leverage a little bit of latency, so I think we have to 50 milliseconds to 100 milliseconds of latency, which if you would like use this tech for, let's say, an ego shooter game, it would be probably a killing argument. But for the sake of our use cases, which is usually like social networking, social behavior on the platform, you don't have that problem, because usually people just are here to communicate to each other and walk around. So you're not like gonna be leveraging milliseconds of latency on the platform anyways. Coming from the event perspective, which was, like I was saying, one of the main use cases we had on the platform in the beginning, we got a lot of requests about how can we maintain an event, how can we make the event management team be in control of all the people in here. So we try to like work on a lot of features. So people are going to see this on the recording. You probably not now because it's in my UX. But what I can do, for example, I can open the stage menu and I can say, okay, there's Joeri. Let's teleport Joeri onto the stage. So that's what I just did. So I can basically navigate people around. I can make them access like specific features. I could now make you a speaker so that you could be audible in the whole environment instead of just in the like approximate like radius. And I can initiate a webcam or a webcam share. I can initiate a screen share here, for example. So let me just quickly see what I can do here. So so we're recording on Teams in parallel, just for you listeners to know, so that I can have Joeri's camera in here. So I can just like take any of my windows and broadcast them onto a virtual screen share with almost no latency, which is also something that not a lot of platforms can do, because usually you're using something like a live stream functionality for this, and then you always have to consider 10 to 15 seconds of latency, so you cannot really have real-time interaction. So having these kind of functionalities is really cool, because it allows us to have real-time interaction basically with the platform and real-time communication. I could now have my PowerPoint in the back on the screen there and just hold a presentation in front of 100 people, and it will feel super natural because I could teleport people up to the stage if they had a question. We usually use this a lot for panel discussions too, where we have like a lot of speakers on stage, and so people can, for example, raise their hand if they have a question, right? So I can take this information in the stage menu. I can now see my name is marked red, so I would know, hey, which people do have questions. I can bring them up on stage, make them have the question or ask the question in front of the whole audience, and so on and so forth. So these are like the functionalities that we were starting off with, obviously, because these were like the requirements for virtual events that usually people would have. Then later we started to implement like a lot of features in the back end, because the behavior shift was not only from a UX perspective, but also from a business perspective, because like I mentioned in the beginning, people were using the platform mostly for virtual events. Sometimes, I mean, we had like giant clients like Procter & Gamble. They use it for the Consumer Electronics Show, for example, for a hybrid approach. And we had like sometimes thousands of people in here in parallel. And so we had to have all these features in place. But later, we've started to figure out, hey, after the event, smaller groups of people were still trying to relog into the platform to do stuff. So we changed our business model a lot more into a kind of SaaS kind of model, if you want to say like that, because what we usually do now is when we have our initial talks to the clients, we try to figure out the use cases that they believe they would want in a platform like this. And we rather try to approach this from a virtual campus perspective. So we integrate like this virtual space into their IT infrastructure with all the features and requirements that we already have in our drawers anyway. Sometimes we custom develop something on top of that if that's required, but then it's in their infrastructure, it's connected to their login system and so on and so forth, and they use it a lot internally, and like a lot more than just for specific events. It's just like more like a more interactive version of Teams meetings, for example, if you want to call it like this. So from an ethical and psychological perspective, we don't believe that something like this will ever replace events by any means, right? But we believe there's like a large spectrum between what can be done physically and what does something like a video conferencing tool offer you. We believe there's like a lot of in-between space to create cool experiences like these.
Nice. It just feels also, I like the light also in this area. I like the openness. I see myself here, giving a presentation, sharing stuff on the screen, having people raise their hand in the audience. I like the openness to do it, because you have also like these virtual worlds where it is too dark or too closed. Here it would be ideal.
We also have the use case where we build these environments completely from scratch for the client's requirements. So when we do, for example, events for P&G and some of their sub-brands, so this has been Gillette, this has been Oral-B, for example, we usually build the environments really, really specifically to their branding. The cool thing is the framework and all the technological stuff that we've done in the background doesn't go away. So we basically can just replace the shell being the environment, which also makes the production really, really efficient, because we don't have to rebuild everything from scratch every time. We just have to exchange the shell, build some custom functionality into that if that's required, but that's it. And this is how we try to approach user-generated content in a way as well. We know we're coming from the other side, where we're saying, hey, we do this as a service because we believe in the quality and visual fidelity of this. But we're starting to collaborate more and more with agencies, with design agencies, with game developers who already have the skill set to build 3D environments, maybe don't have the skill set to build the framework behind it, but allowing them to deliver the environments to us and then implement it for them, or even make themselves implement it, so that they can start working with their own designs even.
Yeah, I see there are a lot of possibilities here. What would be like your favorite use case, or maybe one of your favorite examples? I know there can be a lot, you already did, but I see so many possibilities, and maybe people now watching, this video might think, wow, there are so many possibilities. Where do I start? What is something that is really, speaking to everyone?
So I think everything in the real estate business is becoming more and more interesting because of a tech word that you already mentioned before, which was digital twins. So it's becoming more and more easy to bring real worlds into the virtual space with new technologies coming up. Being able to basically scan real world environments and bring them into the virtual space is becoming a really, really interesting use case. And there's this new technology that popped up a few months ago that's called 3D Gaussian splatting. Maybe I just throw some examples here onto the screen share so I can show you. Wait a second. So yeah, here in the background, you see some of the scans that we were working with. So this, for example, the city of Hamburg, like the city center, where we did some really cool scans. And this allows us to bring like basically lifelike looking real environments into virtual space, which I think is super, super interesting for real estate tours, architectural pre-visualization. So you could think of like scanning the area where you want to build something on, and you're going to have that represented fully in 3D, and then putting your architectural pre-visualization on top of that, so you can see how is this building going to look like in the context of the environments where it's going to be standing in. And then you can start like sending this to potential buyers of the apartments in the building, whatever, and make like real estate tours in the virtual space, which I think is crazy.
I love it. As you maybe I told you, I will be organizing retreats in Sintra, which is a really beautiful environment. But people that don't know Sintra, maybe they are hesitant. So I could like create a world that people can already see them. Oh, that's how it would look like. Yeah. And then another question that I now have with all these possibilities, for marketers, if you're a marketer, a marketing executive, and you'll learn about what all these possibilities. What is a use case that you would like suggest for marketers?
I think there are a lot of use cases and like a super broad spectrum, because it can start, as I was saying, from a design review perspective onto this would more be in the product management category maybe, but like in the really initial funnel phase of marketing, where you say, hey, we can use virtual space to test products before we actually build them, which is because you could like create these test spaces and then see which kind of products people react the best to, for example. You can then extend it into a promotional kind of activity where you say, okay, now that you have all of this in virtual space, like I was showing with the Procter & Gamble examples, you can now create virtual pop-up stores that you just publish on your website, for example, and make people make it accessible for people. You can create marketing-based events on the platform where you invite people to exclusive product launches and stuff like that. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, but even from a productive side of things, our marketing team uses the platform all the time just to do like their productivity meetings and operational meetings in there, right?
Right.
So I think there's like this huge spectrum of things that you can do. And I think this is also one of the largest challenges for us as a platform provider first on which niche are we going to focus and which use case we're going to focus on, because you can't do everything at the same time. And also makes it like hard to grasp for a lot of people, because if you can do everything, what is something really specific that fits to you that you can do with it, right? So,
absolutely. You mentioned to teleport me to another place. Maybe we can do that and have a look.
Let me send, so I can use this to also show you one of the other features. I will send you an announcement. So this is, for example, This is, for example, one feature that we use a lot for, or that is used a lot for events, where you can send push notifications to all the people, and like you see, now you get the push notification directly with the join button. And now if we click the join button, it's going to teleport us into the other space, which is something really cool, I believe, and something that someone like an event organizer or an event manager comes quite handy for them when they want to manage people in virtual space, because not everyone is super versed in gaming technology and knows how to navigate an avatar in virtual space. So being able
here we are.
Being able to have these moderation features is really cool. So this is one of the first theme worlds that we had built. When we built this, the main purpose of it was actually not to build a template or a theme world, but it was to build our own corporate campus for like ourselves, where we do our virtual stuff in. We also have like a remote team that not everyone here sits in Hamburg, right? So whenever we do our remote meetings, we don't do them in Teams or so. We do them obviously in here. But when we were using this and inviting clients into the platform, we got asked more and more, hey, why can't we use like your campus? And this is when it turned more and more into an idea of, hey, why don't we build these theme worlds and these template worlds that are super easy to customize? We try to build all the use case scenarios into them already, so that not a lot of customization is required, because you could just like lock down a specific area and just make it work for you. And then from here, make it an organic space, make it something that people can use by themselves without having the requirement to come to us all the time. And these features are mostly what we have developed in the past years. So a lot of stuff has happened in the background, from connecting the platform to content management systems, to building dashboards for clients where they can see the usage of the platform, where they can do invite management, where they can see how much usage time they have left. Building all of these functionalities, limitations, content management systems, dashboards has been what makes self-maintenance of a platform like this a lot easier than compared to when people have to come to us to make all the little changes on the platform, right? But yeah, what we also figured out is having a lot of like cool interactions in the platform helps a lot with organic retention. So when we build something like a theme like this, we always try to implement something like a mini game. So here, for example, we have this really cool jet ski ride that it's nothing like really complex, right? But you can, I mean, especially if you come from a gaming perspective, this is just like a mini game with a jet ski where you can hop on, and then it will give you a jet ski course that you can that you have to try to complete in a specific amount of time. And if you're able to do that, you land on the leaderboard. I mean, these type of interactions, they are what keep people engaged on the platform. Believe it or not, it's crazy when we. So I mean, obviously, from time to time we host these events to demonstrate the platform, because I think it's just way easier to explain if, like now with you, like if you're in the context of the platform, and then being in the context with another 50 people explains what the platform can do in a way more natural way than me doing cold calls, for example, whatever. It's crazy how. So there's this leaderboard here. Basically, what happens if you do the course in a specific time and you rank, then you will be ending up on the leaderboard. It's now has been reset, but we had people making 40 attempts on a demo event, which was like the main purpose of the event was not like to play, right? It was to be in there for the event, but people were so engaged that every other 10 minutes, they were coming back to the jet ski thing just to be able to get themselves back onto their ranking board, which is, if you think of it from a retention kind of an engagement kind of way, you would never be able to do something like that on a video call.
No, right. Yeah, I've been organizing these events for marketing communities, and every time people loved it when there was a kind of fun aspect on it, like a bit of adventure, discovering new worlds, but also, like a jet ski or something else, or a spaceship or something that they could travel or do something. Sometimes even just dance or having a party or being in a hot tub or something like that. People like it.
Exactly. This is also how we do it. So, for example, now on the 3rd, we're doing a little family and friends event. We're gonna play Jörg and I. Like I think you met Jörg at the Web Summit too, right? Our creative director. So we're both also musicians. So what we're gonna do is like prepare a green screen setup where we're gonna perform like a little mini performance and be teleported like as real people onto the virtual stage and then perform in front of our friends and family. I think like stupid stuff like that like gives you, or we're gonna play PowerPoint karaoke where we gonna like prepare AI generated like presentations for each other and then make each other pitch random topics to each other. I think these kind of really cool team activations are something that up until now you usually would have to have in person, or do in a really, really minimalistic way in a video conference kind of way. Because I would say the most limiting factor in this linear video conferencing is that you're always going to have this situation where even if you have 100 people in there, one person talks, everyone else has to listen. And due to the fact and the spatialization and the room kind of properties that you have in these environments, that's kind of bypassed because people behave naturally like they would behave in a real space.
I think that's a good one, the difference, because sometimes people ask, why not just set up a Zoom meeting? But this is, it's the main difference by doing it like that. You also see in these Zoom meetings, people turning off their camera, and then you don't know who is actually engaging in the metaverse. You can be there, no stress. Everyone is, you look like you want to look. If you don't feel good that day or have a bad hair day or whatever, in the virtual world, you look good. Yeah.
Tackling Zoom fatigue and phenomenons like those is really cool. And this is also the feedback that we get a lot. So our platform is also used a lot in the educational space. And we're getting the feedback that people are engaging more, ironically, because you would think that if they have their camera off, they can basically hide behind their avatar and just pretend to be there. But the opposite thing is the case. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, I think like here, we are now talking, but I like to move a bit too. Even if we are talking like on a Zoom meeting, you would just be static here. People move if they are, I think they are motivated. You just feel like you want to move a bit, stretch your legs.
So, like next week, you also, if you want, you're invited on the 3rd to join us on our virtual Christmas event. It's most likely going to be taking place here, so it's going to be really cute. I think we're going to be probably around 30 people at the event. We've also put another mini game in here. Let me quickly see if it still works. So you can basically, there's this gingerbread parkour. I find really cute. Where you can basically have a mini game where with your avatar you have to get across the parkour in a specific time frame, and obviously it's all themed around Christmas. I think if you fall, you're just gonna be teleported back to the entrance.
Whoa, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil the whole parkour and the best way to do it, because otherwise next week everybody is gonna do it from there on. Okay, let's jump into one of the use cases that we actually did for some of our clients. This is called Future Food Campus. Really, really interesting use case. Was like an educational purpose. Obviously now we don't have like the final deployed version, but this is just like one of the last states that we were able to upload to our enterprise demo. But here the use case was, or is, this was like I think 4-week long event where people were supposed to be educated about future food technology and trends and also opportunities. So basically this was kind of like a 4-week exhibition where people could log in between a specific time frame each day. This was like because you were asking also about like marketing activation possibilities. So they had like a physical campaign with posters hanging around everywhere in the city, with a QR code that with the QR code you could just easily register and enter the space from the go, because the platform also works on mobile. Or if you had like a little bit more time, you could then do it from home. But then we would have like key times for specific events where you would have a speaker in here. So these were like most of the times when a lot of concurrent people were accumulating on the platform. And for the rest of it, you just had this exhibition space where you could walk around, get information on the different topics, be able to play some mini games. We added some interactions in here with like video feeds that were like leaning towards you to make it like the space a little bit more livable. You had these really cool Q&A posters here where you had to find the correct answer. Like this is now all like template content that is put in here, right? We had a second floor where you could see a factory and how these factories in the future are gonna look like. So really cool way of just promoting a specific topic, I would say in this case, and also then use it for specific event activations on a dedicated time frame. I think one of the most interesting use cases that I was talking about in the beginning is this whole thing around virtualization of real spaces. These are now some examples that Jörg built using this Gaussian splatting technology. And this is, for example, a space here in Hamburg in front of the Congress Center Hamburg. And here, what you can see is basically a scan of the real environment being augmented with virtual objects. We talked about this really briefly before, but this is basically how you could create a pre-visualization of what's going to happen on the plaza during the event by just populating it with virtual booths, in this case, virtual trees, virtual cars. So you can basically show the client that is going to book your venue, how is the actual space going to look like for your specific event when everything's built up, when all the booths are in there. They can send us the CAD data of the booth constructions that they already have planned. We can take the 3D models and place them in here. So it's really, really cool how far you can already go with this. And what I find most astonishing is the workflow of scanning that is super easy. Here's a virtual version of our office, and I made the scan. I have no clue about this stuff, man. I have no clue about 3D, about building environments, about texturing. Obviously, from a sales perspective, yes, but this was basically me walking around with my phone, taking pictures in a specific way that was told told to me by or instructed from our design team, but this was like mainly maybe a 1 paragraph thing. And hey, this is what you should have a look when you create these pictures. And then me basically feeding this into a software, and out comes this. It's crazy. The workflow for me taking the pictures, I think, was half an hour. The work, like the processing time in the software was maybe 2 to 3 hours, but I didn't have to do anything there. I just dragged the files into that. I made this with PostShot. So maybe if you're interested in that topic, I just recently with Jörg together made a tour on how the workflow for this is. But I'm just zooming into first person. It's crazy. This is our office.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I'm sitting here right now, right? So if I turn my camera, you can see the area that we're.
Whoa, I really want to show this next week, because this is a really good use case, really that's really wow to show that to people. People don't realize that this is possible.
That this is possible, yeah, because this is also something that just emerged, like I was saying, in the past few months.
Absolutely, and the result is like, wow, because that sometimes you don't do it because it's too much of a hassle and you don't know, what the ROI will be, but this is like...
I can show you how it breaks. So in this case, I just took the pictures from this radius of our chill corner here. So if I start walking out the chill corner, you see a little bit how the illusion is working, because now here it doesn't have enough capture data anymore. But here you really see how the I just fell. How the Gaussian model then looks like, right?
Yeah.
And the same you can do for outside areas as well, right? So this was now an inside room, so you can think of creating apartment tours, of creating like office tours and stuff like that.
Or in a football stadium or soccer stadium or something like that.
But the same thing you can do for outside areas. This is like a construction site in Hamburg, which is like also politically really in the talks, because this was like, it's called Elb Tower. It is like a huge project that was then kind of failed from some perspective, and so it's like the current state of the building right now for quite some time. But so this is an area that Jörg went in and scanned with like a little bit more proper technique and experience than I have. But I think here it shows really well how it even captures the reflection data of everything, right? So it's not like you're capturing a static model or a static mesh, but you capture all the properties from wherever you're taking the photos from, are also calculated into the scan. And what we did here is what I was also explaining before. So this building here, for example, I know it doesn't look really representative whatsoever, but this is virtual. So this is what I was saying. You can put your new virtual architecture into the scanned infrastructure and see how it looks in context. Yeah,
that's the beauty of these new technologies. That's what the added value but I like the fact that it's not just putting an AR object in a place. It's really scanning the environment and making it like blending into each other, and it really makes it feels real.
Yeah, because in the end, it's just a capture of the real world, right? So it's not that anyone was working with virtual assets trying to recreate something.
No, but what you put there also looks real. It looks like it's really blended in.
Because what we do is we also take the lighting data from the scan and project it back onto the virtual asset that we have in the scene. So, and this is how we can make them fit into the scene also from a lighting perspective. It even casts a shadow of the avatar, and this is how we can merge the lighting of the different assets together and make it look coherent. This one's also really cool. This is an actual digital twin that we didn't scan, but we recreated from like data points and pictures that we received. But this was an actual event that took place on the platform. It was for AO. They're like a worldwide surgeon community with over 100,000 surgeons worldwide. And they usually had done the event in the Davos Congress Center in Switzerland. So we basically recreated the whole space. implemented the sponsors, implemented the booths, implemented their products, and basically had an event with, I think, in the end, a couple hundred people concurrently being in here, listening to talks, having workshops together. We even had like a VIP area where only selected people were allowed to enter in a kind of a lounge environment. And here what we've done is like placed a few placeholder avatars just to visualize how the whole thing looked like during the actual event, right? Here's one of the first events that we did on one of the themes too. So this was the launch event of the platform. Yeah, so you can see a little bit how this looks when everything is populated. We haven't jumped into like the avatar customization and the onboarding experience and stuff like that, but I would also encourage people to try it out themselves. So basically, we have a limited demo, but we still have an open demo on the website. So if you go onto entermeadow.com, you can just create your own account and you're going to have, I think, 15 or 20 minute access onto the demo platform. So you can try all of this out yourself as well. And always we invite people to, whenever we host these event kind of formats where we present either new features. I think we have the next one on December 12th. To just try and join, because I think it's just way easier to see what the platform, and not only specific to our platform, right? So to see what a platform like this feels like when you're in there, when you're actually communicating with people, when you actually have to do stuff productively in here, instead of just me explaining or us talking about it. It's always been the same thing for VR especially. Now it's a little bit easier to transfer the knowledge because the hurdle to enter a platform like this is not like bound to have a VR headset anymore. So these were also the main 2 points that we were looking at when we developed this, was like accessibility first and also integratability into B2B. That's just because of the way we were approaching this from. So, but this now also allowed us to show this technology in a way more easier way, because we don't have to send VR headsets to people. I mean, just like we were doing today, right?
Yeah. Anyway, Fabio, I just love to be here in the, if you call it your metaverse or your meta virtual world. Like we met, I think we met on LinkedIn. We met, at the Web Summit. You already showed me, but being here and really experiencing it, in Meadow is even better. So thank you so much for showing all of that. I think you have a really amazing product.
Thanks so much. It was really a pleasure talking to you. I'm also looking forward to all the endeavors we're gonna have together in the future. Loving to be on your podcast maybe in the future sometime. Thanks so much for joining me on this tour, and I hope the tour was also interesting for you. Also, thanks for your insights. And to all our listeners and followers, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also leave a comment if you have some interesting thoughts or maybe some ideas on what we could show in the future. We're really looking forward to that. Thanks so much, Joeri.
Thanks so much, Fabio.